Hey guys, how are you? Carter here. Well, for this video, we are going to take down my Emerson Horseman, clean it up a little bit, put in some lithium grease, my new favorite stuff in the world. It just works completely awesome. Here it is, white lithium grease. This is going to be picked up at any automotive store. That's where I got this. I got it from Pep Boys. $3 for this huge tube. It also comes in like a spray, which is like a much finer aerosol propelled stuff. You don't want that. You want this. You want the thick grease. And the reason why I made the change from using oil is I'm sick and tired of that oil just getting everywhere. I mean, it seeps out of the pivot and gets all over the place. Every time you try to put it in, put some more in, it's all over and it's gross, and I'm sick of it leaching everywhere, and it doesn't work that well. This is not the first time using this stuff. I've actually done a few knives here. Figured I would do my Horseman because I would like to carry it tomorrow, and I also think this would be a good opportunity to show the centering trick on the Horseman, which I realized I forgot my piece of paper. So anyways, first off, it's not too dirty, it's fairly clean. Let's just wipe this off here. Here is the actual working detent on this side here. For those that are familiar with Emerson's, should know. We've got the nylon washers, both sides. They're the same thickness, same everything. My detent hole is fairly clear. It's one thing to check when cleaning your knives in general, is to make sure that the detent hole is clear from debris. Probably should have either a brush or a paper clip or something, there is like a little tiny bit of junk in there, but not a huge deal. I'm not going to mess with it. So what I'll do is just wipe everything down, get the lock face clean. That's another thing with the oil. It can get on the lock face, and on a frame lock it's not too big a deal because you can actually get, at any time you can take a paper towel and kind of clean that area out. But on a liner lock like this, you can't really do that. So, all right, let's reassemble. Basically, I'm just going to take one of these washers here and put just a little touch of grease on each side, just like that. Put it down. Put in the stop pin, like you do. Then take this, do the same thing on this side here. Put a little bit of grease on there. Don't want to overdo it. These Emerson washers are nice and big, so you don't have to worry too much about spillage and overshooting it. I mean, one thing that is kind of a bummer of buying this and not something specific for this is the nozzle is pretty big. It doesn't have that super fine nozzle that a lot of the knife specific greases will have, where you can really just like put perfect amounts exactly where you want them. But it's also $3 for a giant freaking bottle of the stuff, so can't really beat that. Okay. Let's make sure we got everything in there. Generally, when taking Emerson's down, the rule of thumb is to always do the pivot first. So when you're taking it apart, remove the pivot first. When you're putting it back together, put the pivot in first. I'm not sure who came up with that idea. Now what we're going to do is actually over tighten the pivot, because that's where this next portion comes into play. So put all your screws in. I should have showed the centering before I started. It was centered before I started. You can see now it's off center. So hold on one second, guys. So now for the centering, you just take a piece of paper or whatever, fold it a few times. Once more. So you get a little bit of a thickness. Basically, you pry that blade over to the opposite side that you were trying to put it towards. And then you just screw in the body screws. Basically what you're doing is there's very small, open tolerances on this knife. So what you're kind of doing is you're moving it over to the position where you want before you tighten everything down. Because there's a little bit of play on all the parts, so if you actually, if everything's not put together and you move the scales like this, the blade will kind of move back and forth like that. So it gives you a little bit of room to manipulate it, which is all that this is doing. Setting it kind of where you want to. Works really well for Emersons and paramilitary 2s. Haven't tried the military, but so now you can see. Before we test the actual centering here, let me make sure that we've got this adjusted right. Okay. Now, there you go. Pretty well centered. Thing with Emerson's too, love it or hate it. Well, I don't think anyone loves it, but there's quite a bit of play when the blade is closed for some reason. Must be some design feature. I've actually played with changing the washers out with bronze phosphorus ones, and it doesn't make a difference. And in fact, I prefer just the stock ones compared to the bronze phosphorus ones. But yeah, super smooth now. Before it was making kind of a weird kind of squeaky noise. It was going like, I don't know. Should have demonstrated it, I guess. But now that's gone. Nice and smooth. And the main thing that's awesome about the grease, I mean, it will, collect gunk, obviously. There's no way to prevent that. You can see it inside there where it's kind of spilled over. Usually you can't see it that well, but because the washers are so thick, there's a big gap there. So yeah, I mean, it'll collect dust. It's not going to cause any problems, but the main thing is it's going to stay put. It's not going to, leak all over my blade and then get on my lock face. It's going to stay put until next time I need to take it apart and give it a cleaning. Alright guys, just a quick video on this awesome lithium grease. It's used by, I know Strider uses it in their factory for their new knives that they've been putting out. Super cheap, $3 for a giant tube. This will last you forever if all you're doing is lubing up your knives. Alright guys, take it easy.